Christ is risen. Indeed, he is risen. You got it. Before I begin, I want to do a little shout out to a young lady called Maureen Manzano. Maureen, thank you for connecting me with Adam Jones, who is the host of the podcast Proverbs 18:13. We had a wonderful conversation yesterday on his podcast. I want to thank you, Maureen, for connecting us up. It was a real privilege for me. Now, on to today, the feast in the whole church, east and west, of St. George, the great martyr, St. George, painted right here in this icon in our Byzantine Catholic Church here of Annunciation in Homer Glen, Illinois. St. George was a warrior. He was a Christian. But during the persecution of Christians by the Emperor Diocletian, going back early 4th century, late 3rd century of the church, Diocletian persecuted Christians, and George protested that. So George was tortured in unspeakable ways and finally beheaded. And he was a very, very popular saint, a big saint in the Eastern churches. And there is a historical fiction story about him which helps to convey the greatness of the saint. A story, as you see here in the icon. See the young lady here? That's a princess right there. The story is that there was a dragon, a serpent, evil serpent, a monster that would come into this town every year, and it would demand a virgin from the town each year to consume her, and they would consume the crops and the food of that town. And the town was so afraid. And finally, George came in. George came to town with his mighty sword and his horse, because this year, the monster, the dragon here, demanded this time the princess, the virgin princess. And George said, "Nothing doing," and he slayed the dragon and saved the princess. Of course, it's a metaphor for defending evil, stepping up and defending evil. But George was a real figure and a great revered saint, and providential that his feast day is today and that we observe it. Because in the spirit of George, we all have to be strong warriors for God, and to take our spear, our spiritual spears, and slay the dragons, slay the evil of this world, to stand up, to man up in the face of evil, and to proclaim the truth. And so I will do that today, as always. Israel has persecuted Christians, especially during this war. Ever since they were attacked on October 7th, remember? And what they did to Gaza? Israel has bombed Christian churches, many of them Eastern Christian churches. In fact, one of them was named St. George, a Byzantine Catholic church in the Holy Lands. It was under the Melkite jurisdiction. It's a Middle Eastern church, but a Byzantine Catholic church like this. Some of my brothers and sisters, Byzantines, some of them even clergy, were injured and killed by bombs from Israel. And they've done that many times, many churches. And each time they say, "Oh, sorry, it was a mistake." But recently, we have actual films, Israeli soldiers going into Christian churches, bombing them, desecrating them. And most recently, taking a hammer and smashing the head of Jesus Christ on a crucifix statue. Yes, it's all documented. In fact, the Latin Rite Patriarch of Jerusalem, Cardinal Pizzaballa, that's really his name, Pizzaballa, made a powerful denouncement of these actions of the Israelis, this persecution of Christians. And why is that happening? Because of this mistaken notion that many Israelis have, especially Netanyahu, that they are the chosen special people, and only those who have a pure DNA heritage of Jewish origin should really be living in the Holy Lands. Anyone else is dispensable and can be driven out. And this is why they committed such genocide in Gaza under the name of defending themselves. And this cardinal spoke out like George was courageous, and I do too. And I speak against American evangelical Christians because you are perpetuating this by your mistaken notion of the Bible, of this Zionist dispensationalism. Because you do not have a church, you don't have a pope, you don't have a magisterium. So you interpret the Bible however you want. And this idea of Zionist dispensationalism, which is fanning the fires of the war in the Middle East and this bloodshed of Christians. You're Christians, evangelicals, and yet you support this persecution of Christians because of your misinterpretation of the Bible that came from one person. One person does not know better than the whole history of the church and its saints. No one person can take that Bible and interpret it as they want to, because now look what happens. Bloodshed. Bloodshed that America is drawn into and will be sucked into more and more deeply. 3 of the so-called great religions of the world are all to blame for the bloodshed, and God knows where it's going to lead. Maybe the annihilation of the human race. Israelis misinterpreting the Bible, not accepting Jesus Christ as their Messiah, thinking that God promised them this land because they're better than everybody else, and this land was going to be prosperous like a Western American suburb with a strong military. Islam, thinking that anyone's not Islam is an infidel, and they could be wiped from the earth as well. This is what the Iranian regime believes. And finally, and worse, evangelical Christians and anyone who subscribes to Zionist dispensationalism. The blood is on you. The blood that is now, has been, and maybe will be, is on you. In the spirit of George, I denounce all of you. The blood is on you. Now, I ask the rest of you, today, in honor of St. George, take your spear and slay some demon in your life in this world today. Some demon, slay it like George. That's why we celebrate these martyrs. They're our models. Speak the truth. Know the truth. Slay a demon in your own life. Your fallen passions, your addictions, your pornography, your anger, your lust. Slay it in honor of George and ask for his intercession to be as strong and real as he was as a Christian. Christ is risen. Have a glorious and powerful feast of St. George.